Outpost 4 reported under attack, sir. Then message terminates.
Verified, Captain.
Fire. Phaser 1, fire.
There are things that even Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner once tried to keep secret. There are props that seem trivial, but made NASA engineers marvel. How did they do this with only $500 in 1966? Behind the perfection of Star Trek lies a series of secrets carefully hidden. Let's uncover the things that for nearly 6 decades even the most devoted fans have never noticed.
If you did get the job and the pilot was shot, the odds are against it ever going to series. A lot of pilots, particularly in those years, many pilots were made that never became a series.
James Doohan, who portrayed engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott, was a veteran of World War II. He lost the middle finger on his right hand during the Normandy landing in 1944. That injury became a secret that the production team skillfully concealed throughout filming. The camera angles of Star Trek, the original series, were designed so that Doohan's right hand rarely appeared in full view. When Scotty operated the control panels, directors often instructed him to use his left hand or had a stand-in assist for close-up shots. Every detail was carefully adjusted to keep the character's image seamless. What is remarkable is that Doohan's real-life resilience reflected the spirit of Scotty himself, the ingenious engineer who could improvise in any situation. The parallel between his true character and his role made Scotty a symbol of willpower and creativity under pressure. In famous episodes like The Trouble with Tribbles, Scotty's improvisation recalled Doohan's military past. Every action demonstrated precision and composure, as if he brought his battlefield experience into each technical maneuver aboard the Enterprise. Attentive viewers may notice that Scotty occasionally switched hands when handling tools, but most audiences never realized the real reason. That subtlety became one of Star Trek's oldest secrets, rediscovered years later through behind-the-scenes photos. Few people know that Star Trek almost never existed after its first pilot. It was Lucille Ball, the star of I Love Lucy, who personally intervened to convince NBC to fund a second pilot. Without her decision, the original series might have ended before it even began. Another famous story involves Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura. After the first season, she planned to leave the show to return to theater, but Martin Luther King Jr. personally called to persuade her to stay. He viewed Nichols' character as one of the rare representations of people of color in a civilized future, and her presence on screen carried a message beyond its time.
And then this man says, I am your best fan, your greatest fan. Your role is not a black role, and it's not a female role.
If James Doohan represented perseverance, another detail showcased the production team's ingenuity. A familiar liquor bottle turned into an alien beverage. In the episode The Trouble with Tribbles, the characters used a bottle labeled Saurian Brandy, which was in fact a 1964 George Dickel whiskey bottle. This is a perfect example of the prop department's clever thriftiness. They often repurposed everyday items, adding simple labels or lighting details to make them appear as products from distant worlds. With a limited budget, such resourceful reuse became part of Star Trek's distinct aesthetic identity. Today, those bottles have become rare collector's items sought after by fans at auctions and anniversary events. What seemed minor illustrates how the crew turned scarcity into a defining visual charm that has endured for decades. Not every behind-the-scenes story was lighthearted. The relationship between William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy was widely discussed. A clause in Shatner's contract required his name to appear at least 25% larger than Nimoy's in the opening credits. This clause was not merely technical, but also reflected the quiet rivalry between the two stars. Although both maintained professionalism on set, the gap in fame made complete harmony difficult. That contrast ironically brought more depth to the on-screen dynamic between Kirk and Spock. Amid those well-known tensions, Patrick Stewart, who later played Jean-Luc Picard, had a completely different beginning. He accepted the role simply to pay off his mortgage and initially thought Star Trek: The Next Generation was a children's show. During the first day of filming, Stewart even wore a wig because he did not believe American audiences would accept a bald starship captain. Another interesting case involved Marina Sirtis and Denise Crosby, two actresses who almost switched roles before filming The Next Generation. The producers originally cast Sirtis as Tasha Yar and Crosby as Deanna Troi, but a quick meeting changed the entire direction of their characters. After the people came the objects, where Star Trek's creativity began with materials that seemed utterly ordinary. Great idea. In the world of Star Trek, limited budgets were never a barrier to imagination. The design and props department transformed ordinary household items into icons of popular culture, marking the beginning of a handcrafted era in the history of science fiction television. A prime example is the Klingon costume in Errand of Mercy. Their chest armor was actually made from bubble foam, painted metallic silver, and layered with reflective light to resemble alien material. The low-cost design made the warriors unforgettable on screen. Under studio lighting, the foam reflected strong light, creating the illusion of solid metal armor. Many viewers believed the costumes were made from real alloys, proving the production team's mastery of visual effects. This creativity embodied the do-it-yourself spirit of 1960s television. With no CGI, technicians relied on craftsmanship and recycled materials, turning limitations into the foundation of Star Trek's unique visual identity. Another example is the model of the Fakaria spaceship in the Corbomite maneuver. The ship was crafted from a plaster shell surrounding a ping-pong ball with an internal light source controlled by a dimmer to simulate energy. From a distance, the model appeared mysterious and high-tech, though it cost only a few $100s to make. One of the most iconic props is the communicator, the inspiration for real-life mobile phones. Its original design came from the prop designer's mother's makeup compact. Aluminum plating, metal mesh, and a simple hinge created a revolutionary communication device that became a hallmark of Star Trek. In the same spirit, the phaser, the crew's signature weapon, was actually made from common household items. The body came from a hair dryer, the barrel from a flashlight, and the handle from a 3M tape dispenser. The result was a simple, effective prop, showcasing the team's ingenuity in turning cheap materials into symbolic tools. When the remastered version was released years later, the lighting effects were refined, but the handcrafted essence remained intact. The contrast between modern technology and manual techniques highlighted the historical value of the original, where every detail embodied pure creativity. Beyond props, Star Trek became famous for mistakes that accidentally turned into official lore. The James R. Kirk tombstone in Where No Man Has Gone Before is a classic case. The middle initial of Captain Kirk's name was mistyped, but kept in the first broadcast, sparking debates among fans for years. Instead of removing it, Gene Roddenberry legitimized the error by explaining that it was a mistake made by the character Gary Mitchell, who built the tombstone. This flexible approach turned a filming error into canon, demonstrating the writer's adaptability and creativity under tight production schedules. Inside the 6-foot Enterprise D model, a strange phenomenon occurred. A real insect lived inside the sealed structure for 7 years. The technical team only discovered it during maintenance in 1994. This detail quickly became a legend about the only real alien creature ever on Star Trek. From these details, it's clear that Star Trek built its production culture on the principle of use everything possible. Every recycled material had its own story, from plastic pipes and fabric scraps to repainted military equipment designed to look like futuristic technology. Collectors today are particularly interested in original props from the original series. Items like the Saurian brandy bottle or pieces of Klingon armor have been auctioned for tens of thousands of dollars. This reflects not only the franchise's enduring appeal, but also the respect for its original creativity. Some props related to visual effects also reveal daring ingenuity. The moving starfield in front of the Enterprise wasn't computer-generated. It was created using a perforated black glass panel with light projected through it. This simple technique produced a realistic sense of motion, later adopted by many sci-fi films of the era. Props were not just storytelling tools, but part of the show's visual language. Each object, no matter how small, helped build a coherent universe, allowing viewers to believe in the fictional reality that Roddenberry and his team envisioned. This philosophy aligned with the core values of the Federation, an organization in the series that valued reuse, knowledge sharing, and turning adversity into opportunity. The harmony between production philosophy and narrative themes made Star Trek consistent both on and off screen. From handcrafted props, the production team continued to expand imagination through bold visual techniques. Visual techniques. From its earliest episodes, Star Trek demonstrated bold progress in visual techniques. Without CGI or digital technology, the production team had to rely on manual creativity to recreate the feeling of space travel, something 1960s audiences had never witnessed on television. One of the most common public misconceptions is the phrase, "beam me up." Scotty, the iconic line tied to popular culture, was never actually spoken by William Shatner in any episode of the original series. Similar variations appeared in several scenes, but the famous version existed only through word of mouth and later promotional use. The space effects in the original series were created using rear projection combined with hand-painted backgrounds. A black surface was perforated with tiny holes, and light was projected backward through it, forming a moving starfield. The result was the Enterprise's signature warp speed effect, vivid and dynamic, though entirely free of computer technology. Before achieving the serious and refined image, Spock's appearance went through surprising experimental phases. In the pilot episode, the caged Spock had red-tinted ears, smiled constantly, and even used a straw to eat. Gradual adjustments turned him into the calm, logical character fans would come to know, illustrating the process of shaping an icon through small creative trials. Each frame was shot with an Oxberry camera, a device originally used for commercials. The technical crew filmed each motion slowly, so that the light on the backdrop would move smoothly, simulating the speed of light. Everything was done manually with patience and absolute precision. Given the limited equipment, achieving the space travel illusion was a significant technical accomplishment. This method established a distinct visual identity, allowing viewers to recognize the Star Trek aesthetic within seconds of each episode's opening. Another little-known technique was reversing the Enterprise model to conceal the background. In certain scenes, the ship was filmed upside down to avoid revealing the real image of Earth while also saving editing time. The reversal was not just a technical trick, but also a demonstration of visual flexibility in filmmaking. Even though it was filmed manually, the NCC 1701 model maintained high accuracy. The registry numbers, lighting, and movement directions were meticulously calculated so that viewers would not notice the reversal. As a result, Star Trek preserved consistent visual continuity across many episodes. Another interesting detail lies in the Starfleet insignia. In the early episodes, each Federation starship had its own unique badge. The Enterprise used an arrowhead shape, the USS Exeter had a circle, and Starbase used a spiral. This reflected Roddenberry's early concept of a diverse organization that was not unified. It wasn't until Star Trek: The Motion Picture premiered in 1979 that the arrowhead design was standardized as the official insignia for all of Starfleet. The decision served as a tribute to the original series while creating visual unity for the Star Trek cinematic universe after more than a decade of development. This process of standardization illustrated the evolution of design throughout the entire franchise. From a minor early detail, the arrowhead gradually became a global emblem representing humanity's aspiration for exploration and unity in the future. Alongside visual effect, sound was treated with equal care. The humming of the warp engines was created by recording the noise of a generator and adjusting its frequency to produce a stable resonance, enhancing the realism of the Enterprise in motion. While many viewers recall the battles, actual data reveals that the Red Shirts characters thought to die the most were not the main victims. In the original series, only 43 red uniformed crew members were killed, compared to 47 wearing gold. The small numbers became legendary through the power of fan culture. Star Trek's influence extended into real life. In 1976, NASA renamed its first space shuttle from Constitution to Enterprise, following a letter-writing campaign by tens of thousands of fans. This event became clear proof of the series' cultural impact on science and the public. Behind those perfect frames lay a backstage filled with fascinating mistakes and untold stories. Behind-the-scenes secrets. One of the most famous examples was the crew's reuse of the filming set from the Andy Griffith Show. The familiar Mayberry Street was transformed into an alien city in the episode Miri, and reappeared with a new look in City on the Edge of Forever. This reuse significantly reduced production costs while opening a new creative style, turning familiar settings into foreign worlds through lighting and camera angles. For observant viewers, spotting the Floyd's Barbershop sign amid a post-apocalyptic backdrop was a delightful detail. The episode Miri also set a rare precedent by being banned in the United Kingdom for more than 20 years due to content considered too disturbing for children. It became one of the few Star Trek episodes ever censored from public broadcast, adding to its legendary status in 1960s television history. Scenes like these established the tradition of Easter eggs in Star Trek. Filmmakers reused everything available to tell new stories while leaving small traces for fans to discover. This made each rewatch an opportunity for fans to spot details they had never noticed before. Another notable behind-the-scenes element was the GNDN markings on the Enterprise's conduits, standing for Goes Nowhere, Does Nothing. It was an inside joke among the design team pipes that were not actually connected to any system. The phrase eventually became a small but enduring symbol in Star Trek culture. From the original series to later installments, fans continued to hunt for the GNDN label in the background. It became a testament to the humor and creative freedom of the production crew people who always found ways to keep the mood light amid an intense filming schedule. Another frequently mentioned mistake was the visible boom microphone in the episode Charlie X. When Yeoman Rand entered the room, the mic could be clearly seen at the edge of the frame. Though minor, the error remained in the final broadcast due to tight deadlines and became one of the most famous bloopers in the series. The battle scene on the planet Delta Vega, in Where No Man Has Gone Before, recorded a similar mistake. In several shots, scaffolding and support wires were visible behind the actors, exposing parts of the stage. The quick lighting and camera movements hid these flaws from most viewers during the broadcast. Another example was the episode Spock's Brain, considered by critics the worst in Star Trek history. Few knew that writer Gene L. Kuhn intentionally wrote the script poorly as a prank on the studio, but the producers decided to film it anyway. The result was one of the most mocked episodes, reflecting the urgency and production pressure of that period. Some scenes even exposed the studio background. In the Galileo 7, a blue screen was visible at the edge of the frame during the crew's landing. An errand of mercy, unpainted wood, and an unremoved carpet appeared in a conversation scene between Spock and the Klingon commander. Rather than being off-putting, these details made fans feel closer to the production process. They revealed a very human Star Trek where everything was built by hand under time and budget constraints. Behind the scenes were not only technical mistakes, but also personal tensions. Gene Roddenberry was once removed from the set during Season 3 for interfering too deeply in creative decisions. His departure led to a decline in script quality, but also opened new perspectives on television management. During the same period, Leonard Nimoy nearly abandoned the role of Spock due to alcoholism. The crew helped him overcome this difficult time, and the experience later became an emotional foundation for his character, allowing Spock to convey the struggle between logic and emotion more profoundly. Notably, many later directors deliberately preserved that spirit. Some episodes of Star Trek Discovery and Strange New Worlds recreated camera errors, old angles, or manual lighting as tributes to the franchise's early years. The final episode of Star Trek Enterprise 2005 was another example of the series reflecting on itself. Transforming the entire story into a holodeck simulation by Riker drew heavy criticism from fans. Still, it stood as evidence that the franchise continued to reinvent itself even when the results were divisive. Through its behind-the-scenes details, recycled props, and preserved filming errors, Star Trek proves that human creativity knows no limits. Imperfection itself built a complete universe where every frame carries traces of imagination and practical effort. 60 years later, that legacy continues to inspire generations who love science and cinema. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join the journey to uncover more hidden secrets behind the next cinematic legends.